Hello everyone, and welcome to Poppy Seed Mini. Today, it's freezing. It's so cold, you guys. It's below 0. Oh my gosh. So, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to share how to make this hat, glove, and scarf combo for your dolls. Because it's too cold to go outside otherwise. This is a pretty simple hand sewing project. So, let's get crafting. To get the printable for this project, you can visit my blog at poppyseedmini.blogspot.com. The link will be in the description box below. The fabric I like to use is stretch rib knit. Make sure to pin your pattern pieces in place before cutting so that they don't move around. And the hat and gloves will both be cut on a fold. The gloves are a little harder to cut out, so I always cut out the main body and then come back and do the detail after it's cut away from the main fabric. Now that I've got everything cut out, I'm going to take a little bit of this fake leather and I'm going to cut out some little tags. So all I do is for the gloves, I'm just cutting a very thin strip of leather, and then I'm going to cut that, it's about a 1/2 inch long. You'll need 2 for the gloves. And then I cut a slightly thicker piece for the scarf. Oh, maybe not quite that thick. I'm gonna cut it down a little bit. And you'll cut a little less than a 1/2 inch strip for the scarf and the hat. All right, with your fabric face down, and this is my pattern face down. Now I have this center strip here as a guide, and what we're gonna do is folding that pattern up. I'm gonna fold my fabric to that same point as the pattern to start to form the brim here. Okay. Once that's folded over, I'm just going to run a back stitch along the edge here. I'm using a back stitch because it's a stitch that has a little stretch and give. To make a back stitch, all you're doing is going back. So here's where my stitch came through, and I'm going back to stitch through again and going farther away. And then I'm going to do another stitch back past the previous stitch. Now this doesn't have to look immaculate or beautiful or anything, because you're not going to see it. It's not a stitch that's going to show. If you're having any trouble with your fabric staying in place, just go ahead and pin it, and then you can continue sewing. All right, the next thing you're going to do is sew on the tag. Place it on and fold it around the brim. take some matching thread to stitch on the tag. I like to use super tiny stitches for this part, and I take my time to make sure that they all line up. Okay, now that the tag is on, take the pattern and line it up with the hat again. Use the dotted line as a guide to fold up the brim. Fold the hat in half, right sides together, and pin it in place. Sew up the side using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm still just using a back stitch for this part. Once I get to the top, I leave the needle and thread for the next part. Now, holding the seam, pinch it together about 1 inch in. Push in the center of the fabric, creating a T shape, and then fold back both sides to the back seam. Nab your needle and thread and sew across the top. Again, I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Knot the thread when you're done and fold your hat right side out. All right, now for the scarf. Fold up the fabric right sides together. Pin it in place so it doesn't move while you're sewing. Sew across the top edge. Knot at the end and turn right side out. Sew on the tag, just to one side of center. I stitch under the tag so I can hide my knot. Once the tag is sewn on, take the seams of both ends and stick them together. Sew through both seams. Then I use a whip stitch to stitch up one side. Once it turns to the other side, I just zigzag through the fabric, catching both sides as I go. This would have probably looked a lot better if I wasn't doing this behind a camera. Okay, on to the gloves. Use the first dotted line to turn up the cuff. Then take your tag and sew it on. Honestly, I just use one stitch through. Make sure when you're making the other glove, you sew the tag on the opposite side. Now, fold up the cuff again using the next dotted line as a guide. Then I sew a little stay stitch right in the center like so. Fold your gloves good side together and pin. I sew around the edge using a back stitch again with an 1/8 inch seam allowance this time. When I'm done sewing all around, I go back and clip into the thumb. I also clip away any extra fabric so my glove will turn nicely and there won't be any extra bulk. When you turn your glove right side out, you'll need a tool to help, especially with the thumb. All I'm using is a paintbrush handle to help. Make the next glove the same way, except remember the tag should be on the opposite side. All right, now that we have all our stuff on, it's time to go brave the great outdoors. Thank you everyone for joining me for another episode of Poppy Seed Mini. I hope you enjoyed making that cute little project. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And have fun crafting. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out some of our others.